Welcome back on the AM show, and from all the banter with our members of parliament, we talk agriculture now. Now, here is the reality. By the year 2035, a whole lot of African youth are actually going to be out of work. About 30% of them. That is equal to about 350 million jobs that we would need to create in some 14 years. How exactly are we going to fill that gap? This morning, we talked to Agro Minds, which is trying to actually empower African youth in terms of those driven by agriculture. That's why we're having this conversation this morning. And to quickly move on and introduce our guests, Stephen Inshirodatifu is the Executive Director with Agro Minds Africa Challenge. We also have Mr. Francis Osei, Managing Consultant, IESO Agri-Business Consult. Gentlemen, a very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining the conversation. Now, let's get right down to it. Agro Minds. Right. Tell us a bit about this group.
Right. So Agro Minds is pretty much an empowerment platform that supports agribusinesses across Africa with equity financing to grow and scale the agribusinesses. And so we've created a platform that brings equity investors into the space. They interact with these finalists or these candidates who are agripreneurs in their own right, and they pitch to secure financing for their businesses. So we're pretty much gravitating away from the typical grant or debt facilities that most agribusinesses across the continent are accustomed to. And we're introducing the concept of equity financing, where an investor takes a share in your business in exchange for a percentage ownership. And so that's how we are trying to revolutionize the thinking behind financing for agribusinesses across the continent, targeted at youth-driven enterprises. Yeah.
So why not adopt the approach of grants or debt? Why go the way of equity?
Well, Mr. Say, do you want to take that?
Okay. So I mean, we know the issues we've had with debt. You would approach a bank, and there are difficulties, especially when it comes to agriculture. All right. Some of the time you don't get how much you need. Some of the time you don't get at all. If you play in the grant space, people who give grants have their own amounts, and it may not even be up to what you need. All right. In other jurisdictions, equity is what sees to the growth of a business, because there other people decide to share the risk with you. All right. They jump into it, the business with you, and they share the risk, and of course then the returns. But if you look at the usual lenders, they are becoming systematically risk averse, so all across Africa.
Especially on the back of COVID-19.
Much worse in that situation. All right. And so that is the gap that we intend to bring on board for the young people in Africa who are engaged in agribusinesses.
Okay, but why have you capped it at $150,000?
All right, so we are there are a few principles that we want to settle on. We are looking at the value. Okay, if somebody has to take equity in your business, there should be a certain value that the business has for which is taking a certain percentage. Now, most of the businesses, agribusiness owned by young people, and those which want to grow have limited value in terms of when you put monetary value to the business. We think that we also don't want to take more than 50% of anybody's business, because the young person set up his business. So up to $150, from $10,000 to about $150, in our view, is the range we want to play. Yeah. To take up to 49% maximum, so that the original business owner still has the majority shares.
Okay, so Mr. Odatifu, you have $50 million to play with. Right. When I say play with, figuratively, and you're spreading this over 10 years as far as Agro Minds is concerned. Right. And it's been explained how you are capping it at $150,000 for certain reasons. So we could have multiple winners or multiple beneficiaries then.
Of course. So this is not pretty much a typical challenge where you have a winner and then you have a second runner-up and a third runner-up, etc. No. So with this one, it's pretty much you pitch. If your business model is convincing enough, then the investor will make an offer, and he can make an offer to up to 3 or 4 multiple candidates.
Right.
So, and the investors also can compete amongst themselves to actually take up a stake. So you end up having maybe 3 investors interested in your business. Now, what are you going to do? You have to choose. You have to decide who you want to go with based on the best deal that actually adds more value to your business. So you could pretty much have a situation where an investor says, I'm going to offer you 20% in exchange for maybe 50,000 cedis dollars in exchange for 20%. And another person offers maybe the same percentage, but more money. You have to decide whether you're going to go with him or not. Then he comes and says, okay, I'll offer in addition to that strategic technical support, I'll bring my team, I'm going to bring my networking support, and I'm going to help you. So in the end, it's exciting because for viewers out there, they get to see the deal-making side of agribusiness and the attractive and the seriousness that agribusiness actually must, garner in this part of our continent where people assume that to go into agribusiness means that, you've retired and now you can use part of your savings to now go into something. So it's not a retirement job. It's serious business that even youth across the continent should begin to take up right after university education.
So just as you talk about that, serious business, but business also needs the lifeblood of money, capital to run whatever it is that you want to start. That's the problem for most youth. I'll tell you what, if I had $100,000 at my disposal, one of the things I would likely go into would be farming, especially because I have some experience working in the past in some sectors when it comes to agri-business. But many youth don't have that. Well, they don't have the wherewithal. So these people who are the finalists we are going to be talking about briefly, they are going to access all these sums of money. How about ordinary people out there who don't have the means? How can they also feed into this drive?
Let me start chip in, right? We had about 7,400 applicants this year alone. So, and this 7,400 applicants are not just people who have an interest. They're actually doing something. And so people are doing something. And I think, like you said, you mentioned, the issue now is access to financing. Now, we have other reputable organizations like the Tony Lumelu Foundation. We have the Jack Ma Agribusiness Heroes Challenge. And they are doing what they can to actually support these businesses with grant financing. And so we feel that in order to get off your laurels, to just stay away from your comfort zone, at least try and find a partner that you can work with and that can help you scale your business. And most of these businesses that have applied, first of all, assumed that we're actually a grant-based organization. So it shows the perception and the mentality of our youth for getting free money. And about 80% of them also are sole proprietors. They do not want to have somebody else coming into their business and working with them. And if you look at the top 250 businesses in Africa that are, publicly traded anyways, only 50 of them are agribusinesses. And of that, none of them are from Ghana, and just 2 are from West Africa. And most of them are dominated from South Africa, Kenya, and Egypt. So you can see clearly that a lot of our youth are not interested in building businesses that encourage partnerships, that allow you to accelerate your growth and your business. And so that's where we feel that there is an interest, but it's the mentality of going into the space that allows them to assume that it's always free money to start an agribusiness project.
So you're trying to disabuse the minds of the youth alongside, starting this program. Let me come to you, Mr. Osei. Now, maybe something we really need to look at the basis of all of this. Why do you feel, because your initiative feeds into some of the SDGs to eradicate poverty, to ensure that people live, with some dignity. The point to be made is, why do you feel agriculture is the way to bring this about, especially on the continent of Africa, to let people have the means of living well?
Okay, so it's long been established. The World Bank has a report, an annual report they call World Development Report.
Right.
World Development Report 2008 established clearly that agric is probably the leading sector to alleviate poverty, to have inclusiveness, and to create youth employment. That fact has been established unequivocally. It says for all of us to play a role to make that a reality, all right? Especially when you look at the unemployment figures as it looms in the coming decade and in the face of changing nature of work and the future of work and things like that, it becomes very imperative that we empower the youth. And we empower the youth with something that we have the, let me say, competitive or comparative advantage. We have land. Africa has about 60% of arable land in the world. All right. So once it's been established, once the resources are there, I think that's a sure way out, for unemployment reduction, for poverty reduction, or for wealth creation, and those dynamics. And we've got to pay particular attention to that.
And of course, that will also impact our own economies here.
Absolutely.
If people are doing well in agribusiness, it will reflect on the general economy.
I mean, you know about Brazil. I mean, the agribusiness sector drives the economy of Brazil.
Exactly.
You know, with huge export revenues. And the last year was fantastic for them because of the battle between the US and China on trade issues. Brazil took advantage of it.
Like we were discussing earlier, the big boys and girls in Brazil are the farmers. Yes. They are the ones who call the shots.
Right.
But let me come back to you. So let's focus a bit on the finalists for this year.
Right.
So many applying from across Africa. You've narrowed it down to 23. Right. 7 Ghanaians,
yes.
16 non-Ghanaians.
Right.
And this is starting from tomorrow to Sunday, the 26th to the 28th.
Yes.
Tell us a bit about these finalists, a bit about the processes they went through, and what we can expect over these 3 days.
Right. Benjamin, it's been an interesting year. I mean, I've never seen anything like this before. And we actually opened applications in February 2020. And we closed the application window in, I think, July. And then we were actually poised to have the event, I think, somewhere in September. And I think COVID at the time, rampaged, and ravaged every part of business and every plan that people basically had. And so we had to push it to December. And then, we had a few issues with the spike due to the festivities, etc. And we're actually poised now to have it in January. And then, unfortunately, 2 of our investors contracted the COVID-19, and then we had to actually postpone it again.
Okay.
And so we're like, look, for the nature of equity financing, it's important that there's a physical interaction between the investors and the finalists. And and that was why we had to fly them in to come in and physically pitch to the panelists. And realize that, look, we can't wait on COVID because it's pretty risky. We don't want to really endanger the lives of those involved at the fiscal pitch. So we decided, look, let's do a virtual pitch event, at least just for this year, but we'll continue to stick to the physical nature of it in the years to come. And so we decided to have a virtual pitch event starting tomorrow. For the Ghanaian finalists who are located here in Ghana, they would come and physically pitch to the panel. Of course, all the COVID protocols will be observed. But for Saturday and Sunday, it's going to be virtual, and because that's targeted at the non-Ghanaian finalists who are from Nigeria, Malawi, Zambia, South Africa, Egypt, Namibia, and Uganda. And so the average revenues that each of them are generating per annum is about $230,000. And the average age of those featured in this year's challenge is 35.
Wow.
35. The largest revenue generator are from Ghana and Kenya, which is $1.3 million per annum. And so these are serious businesses and serious people whose finances have been audited. We've gone through all that process. And so they are coming with hard figures, hard facts, and they have to present as convincingly as possible. And so that's the demographic of the finalists for this year. Yeah. Very driven and highly successful. Yeah.
Beyond the money, beyond the equity, what else is Agro Minds, and together with your partners, what are you hoping to deliver to these agribusinesses? So
in a typical pitch session, right, like I said, the investor or the nature of equity financing is not just to invest money, it's to come in with your experience as an investor and support the business with strategic technical assistance based on exactly the nature of the agribusiness that you are actually invested into. So if you look at one of the investors like maybe Jerry Pax, for example, of Injaro Agricultural Holdings. So he may pick up a business maybe into invoice financing, for example. He's built a career in finance. And so clearly it might be a portfolio that pretty much fits the interest of Injaro. If you look at IESO Agribusiness, which will be taking up a stake in potential businesses, we are very strong on the technical side. And so if we're going to invest in the business, we want to make sure that there are either gaps in the technical aspect of the business that we can fill in and add value in addition to the money, or then we can come in with some kind of networking support, because sometimes it's not really an issue of finance, it's an issue of networking and strategic technical assistance. And so that's the plethora of support that we are providing to these finalists in terms of the offer that we made to them from the investor. Okay, let me come to you now, Mr. Osei. I was talking about the youth in agriculture and how they can tap into this. And if you look at the story of Jerry Pax, you just spoke of him. I mean, we can talk about John Dumelo.
We can talk about Senyor Hosi. We can talk about a number of them, including Jerry Parks. He is a London banker. He came down to invest in agribusiness in Ghana. And he says for him, this has improved his quality of life, more than he could ever have imagined. So reverse migration being positive in this sense. What are these success stories that we can share, even as we encourage and empower the youth?
All right. So the issue is the agribusiness space offers huge opportunities, as I mentioned earlier, for business growth, for empowerment, and for wealth generation. The markets are there. I mean, there is a projected food shortage in the face of climate change. The populations are growing, and it's for all of us to focus on the sector and do the right things and create many more of the Jerry Parks.
Right.
Many more of the Jerry Parks. People have huge potential, but some of the time they do not know where to pass to take advantage of the potential, and that's where challenges of our type come in. All right, they like the Agro Minds. We are envisioning that after a decade, we should have some multinationals emanating from this challenge. Some multinationals in the agribusiness sector. At the moment, there's some of the leading companies, ADM, Cargill, and things. They all started, as one-man business, and they grew over decades, and some even beyond a century.
Right.
And that's what we are envisioning.
Right. Okay. Let me come back to you, Mr. Odati. Now, before we talk about what we expect in the event, what is going to encompass, the timing, and everything, this one at least has come full circle. For those who may be listening to us, watching us this morning and be thinking, oh, I would have wanted to participate in something like this. In future, how can they actually become participants?
Well, I mean, we are closing the season. It closes on Sunday, which is the last day of the pitch event, and we'll be opening it. We've not yet decided on the next opening window, but I think it should be between April and May thereabout, or May, June thereabout. And so we'll create an order. We calls for applications as we did last year, and of course with the platform and our partnership with multimedia anyways, I'm sure we'll get the message out, especially to the Ghanaian finalists. We had out of the 7,400 applicants, about 60 to 70% of them were from Nigeria. And even though Ghana was the next
highest,
in terms of
there was a gap of about 5,000 applicants.
Exactly. So the Nigerians are very aggressive, and we need to get a lot out.
But to be fair, they have the numbers as well.
They have the numbers.
No, way more than Ghana.
Exactly.
Way more than
us, of course. But it's impressive that even compared to, let's say, Kenya or South Africa, we did have a lot of interest from our Ghanaian agripreneurs, which is encouraging. And funny enough, out of the final 23, 7 of them are Ghanaian and 7 are Nigerian. So despite the fact that the Nigerians were all in terms of that,
it boiled down to the same numbers.
And the top 2 businesses in terms of revenues are from Ghana and Nigeria.
Okay.
So let me just add that originally when we started the call, we had about 38 calls from 30 different countries in Africa. And then, of course, as we went through the various stages, some dropped off. So this was really a very broad circulation of the call. Right. And we will do this every year. Every year we'll open a season and we'll close. Last year we were not able to close because of the COVID. But subsequently, if there are no pandemics, the plan is to open in a year and close in a year, and get a whole community of entrepreneurs or agripreneurs, that we are building and moving forward for the interest of Mother Africa.
Okay, so as we wrap up, I know the finalists are going to be pitching from tomorrow. I'm going to give you 30 seconds each to pitch to ordinary Ghanaians, especially the youth, why they should partake in this event, why they should follow it on social media and all of that, and why they should even become participants in future. Maybe I'll start with you, Mr. Osei.
So the youth are there. We are providing a very good platform and opportunity for you to take advantage of and grow your agri-businesses, especially in this case. We encourage you to follow Agro Minds and to take advantage of the opportunities we offer, because we bring you on the same platform with investors to help you raise the necessary capital to grow your businesses.
As you put in your pitch, 30-second pitch, don't you forget to talk about your social media and how people can reach out to you.
Right, okay, so I think I'm going to start with that. Of course, you can actually follow the pitch event tomorrow. It will be live on Joy. And then, of course, it will be live on our Agro Minds Facebook page. Just type Agro Minds Africa. Either in your browser or on your Facebook, you'll find it. Okay, so that's how you can follow us from 12 p.m. Tomorrow all the way through to 4 p.m. each day. And my message to the youth out there is, look, I completed Ashesi University with a computer science degree. I worked with Goldman Sachs in London. I had no idea I was going to go into agribusiness. And so just as my experience relates to other people out there who feel that, look, I have this, I'm comfortable, I'm doing this. I don't really think agri is the way for me. I think pretty much there's an opportunity here because I've been in the space for the past 8 years. And I've seen the innumerable advantages that it's actually offered, not just in terms of my growth as an individual, but also in terms of the value that I feel that as an individual I can contribute to this continent. And so we encourage all of you to come on board and be part of the Agro Minds network.
So that's the message. Let's come on board. In 14 years' time, 2035 thereabouts, don't be counted among those who are unemployed. Tap into agriculture. That's the message from Agro Minds. Those who joined us, Francis Osei, Managing Consultant, IESO, Agri-Business Consult. And we also had Stephen Inshira Odatefio, who is actually the Executive Director. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining the
so much, Benjamin.
And I'll be tapping into that as well.
Of course.
Well, coming up next, we talk show business with Kadi. That's up next on the AM Show. Do stay.